Steve Cochran, and this is live from my office. Before we get started today, a couple of words on the situation in the world at large. I'm actually recording this on Friday, the 25th of February. So whenever you're listening to this, I'm going to try to make this as non-dated as possible and simply say this. Say a prayer for the planet, for the world, for the people on this planet, for all of us. This life we're living has gotten bananas, and in large part because of some really bad people. Bad people here, bad people there. And is there anybody worse now than Vladimir Putin? The people of Ukraine did nothing to deserve what they've gone through. And there's really only a limited thing that the rest of the world can do until he takes one step too far. Again, this may well be dated by the time you've heard it, but the world would be a better place without Vladimir Putin. The people of Russia would be better off. Certainly the people of Europe. But we're not out of this until we're out of this. And the messianic, maniacal, narcissistic, egomaniac hopes and dreams of one of the richest people in the history of the world. You know, Vladimir Putin's probably got Jeff Bezos kind of money. He might be able to lend Bezos money. You think he earned that fair and square? The whole thing's an outrage. So if you're at all inclined spiritually, I hope you'll say a prayer for all people. People you like, people you don't like. And certainly the people of Ukraine going through this. The people of Russia under the thumb of that little creep, Vladimir Putin. We all need help. And we need God's help. So, again, if you can, keep that in mind and say a prayer for the planet. How's that for a small order? Today, I offer hope, and the hope comes in the form of Marcia Kimpton. Marcia Kimpton comes from a family whose name you may know. Her dad started the Kimpton Hotel chain. She chose a different path. Actress, writer. She's funny, and she's got a show called An American in Amsterdam. She's the American. She lives in Amsterdam now. And we talk about a number of things, including our mutual concern over how we handle depression and bipolar disorder in this country. She lost her brother to it. I've spoken many times about losing my friend Rebecca Cutler to it, both by suicide. It's an awful, awful disease. She did a movie called Bardo Blues. We talk about that as well, which deals specifically with what we're talking about here. But she's upbeat. She's upbeat. She's hopeful. She's already had 2 lives, 3 lives, 4 lives in Hollywood. And she continues to strive. And I respect that very much. Marcia Kimpton's appearing with Jennifer Weigel, my friend Jen, at Madame Zuzu's Tea House in Highland Park. That's Tuesday night, March 1st. Tuesday night, March 1st, Madame Zuzu's. 6 o'clock, they'll do a Q&A. And then right after that, there's 3 episodes of An American in Amsterdam. They're all about 20, 22 minutes apiece. And you'll get a chance to meet Marcia, the actress, the writer, who, by the way, is getting closer and closer to a deal at Netflix for An American Abroad, another slice of this show. Very creative, and just a cool lady to talk to. I like her. Billy Corgan and Chloe, who did Madame Zuzu's Tea House in Highland Park, are the hosts. And Billy's been very upfront from his Pumpkins days all the way through everything he does now to talk about dealing with depression as well. You don't snap out of it. You don't walk it off. And until we treat it with the same severity and seriousness that we do other diseases, we're not going to get beyond it. And depression affects more of us than any disease. So good for Marcia Kimpton for being out there talking about not just her brother, but her own struggles, and about her new very funny show and her very serious movie about the ravages of bipolar disorder, put together in a feature-length film called Bardo Blues, which is great. She also wrote a book that kind of chronicles her life so far. that I think she'll be talking about as well. I'm a fan. What can I tell you? So Marcia Kimpton joins me in just a few minutes to talk about it. So we go from all the dark clouds of the world to a little bit of sunshine in the form of Marcia and my friend Jen Weigel. There'll be a link in the show notes for you to get tickets for the 6 o'clock show, Tuesday night, March 1st, Highland Park, Madame Zuzu's. And you can click it there. Or you could simply search Jen Weigel, Marcia Kimpton, Kimpton, online. And Google that up, and you'll get everything you need there as well. Thanks for listening. As always, this is Live from my office. My name is Steve Cochran. Thank you to David Hochberg and Team Hochberg, the title sponsors of this program. All right, here's what we'll do. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and Marcia joins me next. This is Live from my office. If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan, or reverse mortgage, do what I did when I needed help making money on my house and not having my house cost me too much money. I called Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Manny, age 40, a project manager, income $70,000 a year, called to get pre-qualified to purchase a home. The challenge was Manny was carrying $20,000 of debt on his credit cards and didn't have a down payment. So he called Team Hochberg for a free consultation. Team Hochberg loan officer Juan Rodriguez created a plan for Manny to A, pay off his debt, B, save for a down payment, C, purchase the home. So let's review. Before calling Team Hochberg, Manny didn't qualify. 4 months after calling Team Hochberg, his debt's paid off, he saved for a down payment, and he successfully purchased his first home. Couldn't happen without Team Hochberg. And they've helped me and thousands of my podcast listeners too. Like Manny, create a plan to purchase a new home. They can't help you if you don't call. But when you do call, you're going to get exceptional customer service. 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. And tune into Home Sweet Home Chicago on WGN. It's hosted by David Hochberg, Saturdays after House Smarts at 10 a.m. Homesite Financial is an equal housing lender. NMLS number 1124061. Well, it is a pleasure. And, in show business, I often speak of cheap thrills. This is not a cheap thrill. This is a very involved thrill to bring in the extremely talented and lovely Marcia Kimpton, who some of you may know. And for those of you who don't, you should. And you get a chance to do that up close and personal on Tuesday night, March 1st at Madame Zuzu's north of Chicago. We'll get to the plug in a second. But Marcia, how are you?
I'm great. It's so great to meet you. I mean, I knew of you in Chicago, and I haven't lived there in a long time. And I just talking before this interview, it's pretty amazing to see how much we have in common. And you really did your research for the interview, which not everybody does. So I really appreciate that. Well,
listen, it's the least I could do, and I respect your work. But let's do a little background here, because you are a Chicago girl originally, right?
Yeah, I went to New Trier, grew up in Glenview and Wilmette. And when my parents moved to Wilmette to New Trier East, I felt I was betraying New Trier West, having been a cheerleader freshman year. So I stayed with West and drove from Ashland Avenue over to New Trier West. Wow. And I just saw a picture that New Trier East is being demolished or has been demolished.
How dare they?
How dare they? The institution, a great one.
So how old were you when you left Chicago?
18, really, because I went to Indiana University. Okay. And then I, of course, came back for summer jobs and stuff like that. And then I went straight into LA, right into the beast of Hollywood at 22, and had a terrible experience there. So I went to New York City and tried Wall Street. And then I went to London with my old college boyfriend. And then I came back to New York and then went to San Francisco, and then ended up in LA again, and then New York, and then Aspen, and now I'm recently living in Amsterdam. So I've moved around.
Yeah, it's almost like you're in an international witness protection program, and they keep moving you around, right? So.
The thing is, my daughter's like, Mom, you're never staying in one place. But I really do like to travel, and I like to move around. That's been a little bit difficult recently, as you can imagine, but I went up against obstacles and made it happen.
Your series on Vimeo is An American in Amsterdam. Before we get to that, though, did you always know you wanted to write and act?
Yes, I knew at 12 years old. I saw myself when I was watching Dick Clark do the American Bandstand, and I would watch Johnny Carson, my Stepfather at the time, as well as Midnight Special. And I knew I was going to have a late night show. And that took me until 38 years old to finally get my own late night show out of San Francisco, only to have it taken off the air 14 weeks later, and to be told by every male Hollywood executive, the world's not ready for a woman in late night. And I'm not giving up on that dream, no matter what age I am. But yeah, I saw it very vividly. Did I think I was going to end up being a writer, director, producer, and actress? No, that was all by default because nobody would hire me. So it forced me to learn how to do every single role.
Well, and that's the thing that I think all of us, and this is not just men of a certain age, this is men of all ages, have been forced to come to grips with, rightfully so, in this Me Too generation, is that it's not an equal playing field for women. It's just not. And the more we take a step back and teach our sons and our nephews or our younger brothers, you can be a good guy and have an amazing life, whether you choose to be with one person or 100 people. But you don't ever put women in a position where they feel like they're being exploited and they do things that they don't want to do. It's the ultimate umbrella, right? No is no.
I just love the way you said that. And I'm deeply spiritual. So something came out of the sky, this piece of, part of the lamp fell when you said that. So I think I really appreciate you saying that, because my parents told me I could do anything. And when I went out to Hollywood at 22, being a superstar in high school and college, I really broke ground in both places, doing things that nobody had done before. I didn't even think it was possible to get the response that I did. I got to meet with Irving Azoff, and he was the head of MCA, did the greatest bands like the Eagles, right? Sure. And he was the biggest in the biggest, right? And he had lunch.
All 5 feet of him. He was a giant.
Right. And my father had a friend that was friends with him. So he was like my first introduction to Hollywood. And he said, you can be a secretary or production assistant, and that's it. And I said, what? I said, well, I'm not going to be any man's secretary, so I'll be a production assistant. And for the first year in Hollywood, all I was able to do was make coffee at 5 a.m. for rock videos and then clean up the coffee at the end of the day. They wouldn't even let me speak. So in that process, I was a very determined woman, and I developed the show called the Rock and Roll Evening News. Walked into a producer and didn't know what the Writers Guild of America was. And I was that young, 23 and innocent. And sure. I wanted to be on TV because that was my dream. And I had gotten offered an internship at the Today Show because I had brought Jane Pauley to Indiana University, and she was absolutely amazing. Everything that you would hope she would be, right?
Sure.
But they only want to pay you $14,000 in New York City. So I said, you know what, I'll go to LA and make some money. And I was able to make a little bit more than that, not knowing that basically when I walked in with this idea, which was like the Entertainment Tonight of rock and roll, called the Rock and Roll Evening News, sure. that the producer would end up going ahead and registering it under his name and come back a month later and say, oh, all your ideas are here. Here it is. And I didn't see my name. And he said, well, you're too young. I said, I wrote every word of it. The irony of it is that we were going around to all the record companies, Warner Brothers, A&M at the time, and MCA, and Irving Azoff was in one of the meetings, right? Sure. And he turned to that producer, who I'll say unnamed, and said, who wrote this show? This is amazing. And at that point, when the guy was looking at Irving Azoff, he couldn't lie. My name was not on WGA. He said, Marcia. And so I saw this incredible show start to be realized, but he said, you can't go on camera because you don't highlight your hair. I highlighted today, but at the time I was insulted. I was from the Midwest. I wasn't a blonde bimbo. So I had the regular color hair. You can't go on TV because you haven't colored your hair. And ironically, Eleanor Mondale ended up getting the job instead of me, same age and everything. And then he said, I've got a closet for you. He pulled out the file cabinets because I had a really nice office, but when they hired the whole entire crew, he said, I've got a closet for you because you'll be the production assistant on the show that you wrote. And so I was out of there. I went to New York City, and
this is what's maddening about anybody that tries to go to Hollywood, and to a lesser extent to New York, with a dream and with a creative brain and with great material. Is they will bring you in and they'll say, Steve Cochran, you're 60 and you're bald. We're looking for a Steve Cochran type, and we don't think you're it. And that's the type of thing you're talking about dealing with all the time. Yeah, it's yours. You wrote every word of it, but we're going to take it.
But I'm going to talk about the positive and go ahead. I not tell you how many years, because that would give my age away. But and that really doesn't make a difference, because eventually, if all my dreams happen and I get a Netflix deal for the show that I'm pitching right now called American Abroad, this will be all understood, because I wrote a book called Escaping Hollywood. Bardo, basically, because my movie's called Bardo Blues on Amazon Prime. And basically, in that whole entire book, it is exactly what you said. It's about how did I transcend Hollywood and not sell my soul to the devil. Now, there's great people. I hear Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt are great. Okay, so there are great people. I don't know them personally, but my point is that with how many nightmares, and of course the men asking you to sleep with them and then not getting the deal at 20th Century Fox because you wouldn't sleep with the president because you're a good Midwest girl and you have morals. Well, guess what? Now I can produce, direct, write everything, right? And I'll have ownership of what I'm doing. And I fully intend on doing the late night show. So after going through the journey, I look back and say, at least I didn't sell my soul to the devil. And I learned all these skills. And it's not over until the fat lady sings. And I really believe I'm going to pull this off. But most people wouldn't be able to endure. And I'm not saying I'm special. I'm just saying most people wouldn't have the strength to endure what I went through, because I had the talent, and I appreciate you noticing that.
Well, and that's just it. And by the way, you look fabulous. So enough about how old you may or may not be. But the thing to remember out of what you just said too, the marching orders to me are, if you live it, you love it, you wake up and you think about it, you go to bed, you think about it, don't quit. Don't quit. Chase it.
You don't have a choice. It's interesting how people say, how did you survive? And I go, well, why do you ask that? Because writers are exactly like me. I am a writer of creative content. But when you go to, like, my stepsister who's written a novel, they never question, was she going to write the novel or keep on writing novels?
Sure.
Right. It's only because Hollywood and being able to pay your bills. And I've waitressed plenty, and I have been seriously in debt and down to zero almost every single month of my life. And, as an artist, and any artist listening knows, this isn't a choice. Right. So a lot of people do have to make that choice. But for me, it never was a choice. I'd rather die before not being an artist.
It's who you are, and it's what you do. Now, you told me a little bit about before we started recording, but an American in Amsterdam, again, at Madame Zuzu's, and we'll give you the full plug coming up. You're going to show, I think, the first of 5. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to show the first 3. They give you an hour to show, so they're about 25 minutes. Yep. The first 3 shows of 5. That I had to self-distribute because of COVID. And again, I don't want to complain because I know I'm lucky, but I had a great show that I had put together, it was supposed to be a film called American in Amsterdam, but we couldn't finish it because of COVID. So I made it into a TV series and pitched it all around, and everybody go, oh, COVID, we can't buy this right now, basically because I wasn't famous. And there was no other reason, because this is so funny, this is so talented, whatever. And then I finally said, screw it, I'm just going to put it on Vimeo. They give you 90%. Right now, I think I've made $5. Maybe I've made 20. I don't know. I didn't get a 1099, but I get on Netflix. And I was actually thinking, I hope this is my problem. They want to buy that series, right? Well, I'm way better off holding it off. Get on Netflix with American Abroad and keep that Vimeo. That could be my a lot of money when you get on Netflix, because I'm really proud of the comedy. And that's the part that I love about Vimeo. They definitely have they do not promote you, and you have to, spend a lot of money on marketing. So of course, that's why I'm in Chicago, is to market. But it's a 5-part series. It's basically all my own footage that I've shot, everything. It's a fictional version of Marcia. It's an extension of her. And basically the struggles of Hollywood and the struggles of being basically the only job I could have gotten if I had succumbed, which is a reality TV. And that's just not me.
But here's the interesting thing. You're able to, in this, because I've seen it, you do this great job of parodying reality TV. But the way you put this together initially with the footage of you in the early days on TV and then San Francisco and all that, there's moments where I stop and I go, hold on a second. I'm watching a documentary Now it's a reality show, but it's funny. It's funny throughout. So I've never seen it cut that way. I've never seen that concept. So I think you got something pretty original here.
Well, that is the greatest compliment you can give an artist. I do think it's original, and that's what I was trying to go for. The only footage on there that is real is when I was on the morning show in San Francisco and my late night show. The rest of it is all fictional, but it all looks like it is real. And you know, I own the footage, so that's why I could put it out there. It's kind of exciting to hear that you feel that. And then, like I said, the only job I could get is reality TV, and I didn't want reality TV. And so I make a mock of what it would be if I had to be on reality TV.
Well, your acting's tremendous. You got great funny chops. Yep. You know, you make fun of yourself in this that you can't tell a joke, but you got great comedic timing. And so I think the show does a great job. But the obvious question here is, how'd you end up in Amsterdam?
Fell in love, but that didn't work out. So
chased a boy, or the boy chased you?
You know, complicated. I don't really want to go into
That's for another podcast. I get it.
Right, exactly. We'll see what the end result is in the end. I'm in Amsterdam and I love it. I love living there. I mean, I'm proud to be an American, and that's why the name of my show is called An American Abroad, that I'm pitching to Netflix right now. Basically, when I went to shoot this in Amsterdam, I had such an amazing time. And as I say in that show, an American in Amsterdam quarantine, because it was during the quarantine times. That's the one that's on Vimeo. I really do love the Dutch. And the only thing I don't like is the weather. And it's so similar to Chicago. I pretty much can handle it. So, you know, I've always wanted to live in Europe. My daughter is old enough and independent, and we'll see each other every 2 months. So there's something that's pretty amazing about living in Europe, and everybody speaks English. And I love riding my bike. And it's a really spectacular, beautiful city. It's so small. Everything about it I love, except for the weather, like I said. So I don't know how long I'm there. I don't really stay in a place very long, but having done all the big cities, I feel like the show, when it sells, we're going to be where we just went with American Abroad that I'm pitching, and I have a 9-part TV series, is we went to Greece and Turkey, and we were supposed to go to South Africa, but the virus stopped us. So then we went to France and Portugal, and then we went to South Africa in November. And when I sell this show, we'll go back to, I think, Rwanda. We're going to go to Bhutan if it opens up, Nepal, India. Yeah. And so my whole idea with American Abroad, which nobody can see right now, and I can't even put the trailer up because Netflix is so exclusive about, making sure nobody's seen it.
Don't screw the deal up.
What's that? No, I'm not. I can talk about it. Yeah, I'm not going to screw the deal up, but what it is my dream. We were traveling when nobody was traveling, which was in June, and nobody was in Turkey. I mean, Cappadocia is one of the most special places on planet Earth, and nobody was there, and it's usually very busy. So what my feeling is to get people traveling again and not fearful. Granted, there are a lot of restrictions around it still, but I'm hoping by the time American Abroad gets out there, all those restrictions have been eliminated and you're feeling like you could travel. But a lot of people are still fearful. So the idea of a show, of a comedy, mock travel reality show like Anthony Bourdain travels around the world, and it's about a relationship, really literally on some level, the man that I didn't end up with. So I have, in this fictional world, the man in my head that I wrote about is in the TV series. So it's a romantic comedy along with a woman that has a travel show. And my goal is to unite people through travel, because I think we're being separated so much, not just with the virus, but also with travel.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And the cool thing to me about Amsterdam is you're a little bit isolated from some of the craziness that started, in the last few days with Ernest, because you're on the coast. And Amsterdam almost seems like a Europe unto itself.
It feels like that. I have to say, having traveled all throughout Europe, it has its own thinking. And, it's really based on free minds and free thinking. And that goes back to the 1600s. And if I had a past life, I know I was there, because it really has this really free spirit thinking. And there's a lot of healers there and a lot of spirituality that I didn't expect, of people really praying and hoping for this kind of new world and new earth. And they're very different than France or any of the countries, even the Scandinavian countries like Denmark. I mean, I would say it's closest to Denmark, but again, I don't think there's any place quite like the Dutch and the Netherlands. It's a pretty special place.
And the other thing I would say too is that's a perfect transition into Bardo Blues, because spirituality is such a big part of that. And again, it's a testament to you and your range that you could be as funny as you are in An American in Amsterdam and still act and get it on the page in Bardo Blues. All of this, I guess, in some way is sort of semi-autobiographical, but talk about the movie, because I'd like people to see it.
Yeah, it's the only drama I've ever done. I've always had the mission to just make people laugh and bring great artists and do comedy. But this just came out of my studies of Buddhism and Swedenborg. I wanted to get a master's in Swedenborgian studies, but I have dyslexia like my father, and I just could not get through the reading. That's after my late night show came off the air, and I went through a huge spiritual crisis. And I went to a church, a Swedenborg church, not even knowing what it was in San Francisco. And he basically was a 17th century mystic that heard from Christ. And again, I kind of believe in all religions, so I really want to state that because I grew up in a completely Jewish area, and I have a lot of close Jewish friends. So I don't just say you have to believe in Christ, but I do believe in Christ consciousness in the sense of love, right? And so he really believed in Christ, and that's why I balanced the movie with Buddhism and put it in northern Thailand. So it's kind of got a neutral zone about religion, because religion can be a problem. But if you know anything about Emanuel Swedenborg, and I showed it at their convention, you would know that there's so many Swedenborgian concepts. And his idea was that the heaven or hell was within. And it's not like you went to a church to find Christ or heaven. And basically, I studied so many of his books and his thinking, and he changed my life so significantly in the sense that I suffered from depression for a long time, not knowing even it was depression. I just thought everybody felt this way. Then I found out it was depression. And at that time, as we spoke earlier, you didn't really medicate with pills, right? I probably medicate with alcohol and marijuana too much. So then when I had the spiritual crisis of my dream being pulled off the air of the late night show wasn't able to air in San Francisco. I've been on only 14 weeks, was $150,000 in debt. I just was divorced. I couldn't be any worse off, right? I basically went into these studies of Emanuel Swedenborg and Buddhism, and this is where Bardo Blues was written. And I was combining the two concepts about the heaven and hell that I was feeling personally, mostly hell, and my brothers who had he had mental illness. I could have been borderline, right? If I hadn't found yoga and meditation and really, really lived not in depression anymore. But he, on the other hand, was in and out of hospitals and doctors, and he was a brilliant artist, a really creative artist. And so I based this movie, and it just came out of me, as I was saying. I think it was the first time I really knew that God was giving me the story, because before it was always comedy about myself and an extension of myself. And this was literally channeled through me. And then I had this brilliant writer who plays my comedy guy that you've seen in the Vimeo series, my big fat guy, Anthony, who goes back. Well, he rewrote I think it was a 250-page screenplay. It was so long, and he brought it down to 90 pages. And he's really the one that made that writing.
Just for people I've referenced, 250 pages is roughly 2 movies, not one.
It was way too long. And it was me just pontificating about Swedenborg or Buddhism. He's like, Marcia, nobody even talks this way. So he did a brilliant job of capturing really the heaven and hell. And then I have these incredible cinematographers, Justin and Ian McAleese, who I've been working on all my comedy with. And they just did American Abroad. And they did we had no money. I literally ran out of money in northern Thailand and I had to call my brother, who was alive at the moment. Okay, he's no longer alive. And to say, can you pay for my hotel bill? I had paid the hotel bill of the whole cast and crew, but I couldn't get out of my nicer hotel.
Right.
the Meridian. And he's like, I already gave you $50,000 towards this film. And the film was supposed to cost about $350,000, ended up about $550,000, which is no money. So to give you an idea, right. These guys went in northern Thailand. We'd have a wall and they'd find a purple light and they turn on an old TV. You probably remember that, with the Thai person on there.
Really?
And it was just such a brilliant. And then my editor, who's no longer here, who ended up unfortunately killing himself, he ended up just doing this brilliant editing job. So I'm so proud of him. We won 40 awards, but we did not get into Sundance. And that's why nobody knows about it.
Well, it's a wonderful movie because it tells the story of the destruction that can be caused by bipolar disorder and depression in general, but without giving the movie up, because the ending is so crucial. You know, I really want to say what the message is, but you need to see the movie to get the message and to get the impact of the message, because it ties into this whole conversation. Because you take this horrible situation, and I've lost a very good friend to bipolar disorder, and a couple other friends to suicide. So we know how painful that is. But you bring it home in a way which is really kind of marching orders for the rest of us. If you walk away from that movie and you don't go, I need to look at my life in a different way, in a more positive way. That's the thing that's really great about it. And the thing is about, those locations that you guys picked, they're unbelievable. And little do I know, you're at a cafe and you got the right angle on the camera or whatever. That's nice tricks, director, but it looked really beautiful.
Tell me, what are you talking about in particular, the cafe? Because I really want to know.
Well, the cafe, there's that long shot of you at the cafe, and it's the morning at the cafe. And very subtly, you see that shot of the beach and the ocean blended in where it doesn't become a waste. The sky shots were fantastic. The desert shots as well, which I know weren't in Thailand. But everything in and about Thailand, I felt like, and I'm not spending any time there, but you captured it in a way you haven't seen. In the same way you see every movie in Chicago will shoot Michigan Avenue. Every movie in LA shoots certain locations. You gave it a look that I hadn't seen in other places. And there's been a lot of movies that have had at least a piece of Thailand as part of their story.
Well, thank you. I that's what I tried to do. And it means so much to me to hear what you think about it, because a lot of people don't do northern Thailand. That's one thing. And then secondly, it was a very strange incident that I had envisioned all of them, and I found this location guy, and every time you go up to the place that I was talking about, it was there. And it was almost like I had seen it before. It was very strange how that happened. But I have a couple, if we have the time, two amazing stories that I think I should share about this. You have to have a producer when you're working in Thailand. They have to do all the paperwork. Well, I find out that this producer, or at least the way he acted, is definitely bipolar. So the movie I sell as a man going to northern Thailand. It's a mystery drama looking for something and find something completely else. When you look on Amazon Prime, I kind of wish it didn't say mental illness, because it deters you from watching it, because it's not a completely depressing movie, but it deals with mental illness. Okay. So the guy, I'm getting a cheap ticket that goes through Finland from New York City to go to Bangkok, and he cancels on me in Helsinki, where I'm sitting there waiting 36 hours for my flight. And I'm like, how can you cancel? I find out later, he suffers from mental illness. Well, I have nobody that I can meet to go see the locations. And I'm on my way to Thailand and I have no time. We're filming in 4 months and I'm doing the entire film without an assistant because we didn't have the money. So I just start cold calling every producer in Thailand that's online. I don't realize I get the producer of The Hangover. I don't know that. I'm like, hey, let me tell you, I'm in Helsinki and I'm supposed to do my little independent film, blah, blah, blah. So he feels so bad for me after hearing this. He meets me at the hotel that I'm staying at. And I was staying at a nice hotel because my family's in the hotel business. So I wasn't going skimp. I was staying at the Peninsula, which was a joke because I didn't have enough money to be there. And so he thinks I've got some money, right? At Peninsula, he sits down, he goes, okay, so what's your budget? And at the time, I honest to God thought I could do the film for $60,000 or $100,000. That's what I thought. He goes, our budget's $60,000 a day. I was like, okay, thank you for meeting him. He said, but I'll find you someone that you can afford, which he did, which was amazing. And that person I met later. And what was the other thing that I wanted to say that was so,
but I mean, that's another reason that you believe, rightfully so, this movie was meant to be made, because the grace of that individual to not go, okay, thanks for meeting with me. You don't have the money. Bye-bye. He wanted you to be a success with this.
Yeah, the amount of grace that was in this movie was so out of my control. Because again, I got to a point in December where we're doing the rehearsals and we got this great lead, Stephen McClintock, and everything is going great. And I just realized I don't have enough time. We're filming in February 1st, I think it was. And I don't have enough time. I do not have physically enough time to get myself looking like a movie star, right? And I went to Hawaii to do my rehearsals, which are great because it was on the way to Thailand, so I could look a little bit better and get everything done without an assistant. I did have a on-camera producer in Thailand, like I told you. And all of a sudden, I just said, you're just going to make it work. I bought all the plane tickets. I got everybody there. It was only a crew of 12 people. And I just said, you're going to make this work. And I have this really funny story that I also went blank. I'm sure I'll remember by the end, but it was non-stop grace. I can't tell you how many. The whorehouse. This is a great story. Yeah. So you'll see one whorehouse. It looks really plain where they have purple. And there was 2 whorehouses in town. Right. Now, we all know in Bangkok, it's sex slavery, and I don't want to be promoting sex slavery at all, but I had to show what would be hell and what would be heaven, and there could be nothing more. The interesting thing about it in Chiang Rai is that the nicer whorehouse, those people didn't look that unhappy. They were some of the wealthiest people, and they did not look unhappy, and I'm being honest with you about that. But in the other one, where there was nothing on the walls, it was absolutely terrible. And you felt the hell. So my cinematographer goes in and goes, Marcia, that other whorehouse has got so much more color. It looks so much better on camera. And I'm like, we don't have $1,000. I mean, they said $1,000. And I don't know how this happened. All I know is that we got it. So we got these 2 different types of whorehouses. And the only thing that she asked while us filming, it was really quite dynamic colors in that place. If you see the whorehouse in the movie, completely. She said, as long as we can continue doing business. And I'm like, they only had to stop us once to have people go pie and go upstairs. And I thought, oh my God, as long as you can still do business.
Well, see, that's the other thing too, is that is real life funny. And it also, when a movie crew comes into a location, generally they turn the place upside down. So you had to figure out how to shoot without interrupting commerce as it was being done.
On the first floor, we were definitely the thing in town. But, when we said cut, business could go on. There wasn't a lot. Let me tell you, there weren't a lot of men that wanted to pass by. But it was a very strange reality. And the horrors, we could hardly get any horrors, because it's so frowned upon in Highland. So we got ladyboys, which they're transgenders, and they really look like women. And only the woman that played the lead was willing to risk her reputation. She was a top DJ in Chiang Mai, and as a woman, not allowed a lot of opportunity, and said, okay, I'll do it. And she just did a brilliant job, because I didn't want our lead, I'm not saying anything against transgenders, but he wanted to be with a woman. He's very heterosexual. And we were wondering if we're even going to be able to find a female lead that would be a whore in the movie.
See, that's interesting culturally, because I didn't know that about Thailand in general, because the sex trade, not just sex slavery, that's awful, obviously, but the sex trade is such a big part of the economy there. The idea that they would hold the women in contempt, in denial, it's beyond strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's tragic, actually. But I will say, again, in Chiang Rai, it did not feel like there was full-on sex slavery. It felt very, very different than when you're in Bangkok.
And again, as you said, just to be clear, this is not promoting sex slavery at all.
No, it's to show what hell is.
Exactly.
And it is a form of hell for some people.
It has to be.
A lot of people, actually.
No, yeah. It has to be. All right, we got to get the plug in here before we run out of time. Okay. And that is Madame Zuzu's Let's see. Well, let's think about a podcast. You can hear it anytime. So by the time you're hearing this, we'll give you the actual real world timing. And that is tomorrow night, March 1st. You're going to show an hour. That's the first 3 episodes of the series, which people can get on Vimeo right now, right?
Yeah. And they can get it at my website, marciakimpton.com, but I'm not SHA. So I'm MarciaKimpton.com. You can purchase it. You do have to become a member, unfortunately, of Vimeo to get it. And
it's a piece of cake, though. It really is. I've done it. It's easy, and there's a trial thing. So Don't sweat it.
Yeah, and then Bardo Blues right now, if you want to go to Amazon, it used to be free on Prime. I've noticed. I guess we haven't sold enough movies or something like that. I don't understand.
They just put them on different shelves at different times, but I'd highly recommend Bardo Blues.
Thank you.
Especially if you've known or loved somebody that's dealing with it, and who doesn't, right? On some level.
Exactly. Especially in these times. Yeah. So, and then the new show, I don't know where it's going to land, but we hope it's Netflix. It's called American Abroad.
And that could be calendar 22 or to be determined, obviously.
Well, I'm hoping it's the fall. It's completely done. The only thing is just getting the music rights. We've edited, we've done everything. I co-wrote it with my lead, and I wrote it, and I directed and produced it. And we went to 5 different countries, and it's really exciting. It's a romantic comedy. I'm really excited about it. And now I've got a bunch of different screenplays. I've got a big pharma screenplay that I can't seem to sell. Surprise, surprise. It doesn't make Big Pharma look really, really good.
But you know what? With Dope Sick and things, I would think Big Pharma would be its own category now.
Well, thank you. I think that's a very interesting point. Again, it's like until you're famous, it's really hard to, get some of these. I did get to Reese Witherspoon's company, and they thought the screenplay was great, but not everybody wants to touch Big Pharma. And then I've got a Joan of Arc meets Me of Me Too, a contemporary Joan of Arc story that meets Me Too that I'm working on. And I want to work on an upbeat, if it's possible. I was just in Africa, Tanzania, anti-poaching movie. It's kind of a love story, biracial, stopping people from killing the elephants. And it's so hard to always, I want to try to bring movies that make you move and think, like Bardo Blues, but also don't make you depressed, because I find that so much today, the stuff is so depressing, and we've got enough depressing stuff out there. So
yeah, life is way too heavy. And I'll leave you with this, Marcia Kimpton. The one thing that I really like about your work is it's entertaining, but it also makes you feel better. So you're like one of my best fans already. Thank you. Yeah, no, I salute you. I really do. I salute you. So go to marciakimpton.com, links to everything there. If you've not been to Madame Zuzu's, it's a really cool place. It's got this typical Billy from the Smashing Pumpkins vibe to it that you would hope and expect. But he has been very upfront about the depression he's dealt with in his life. So I know he's looking forward to having a stage for this as well. And Billy and his wife have created this entertainment space there, which I really think you're going to like.
Yeah, Jen Weigel, who's such a great friend.
She's the best. She's the best.
We did a podcast called The Climb together, and she's the one that introduced me to you, and she's the one that's doing the hosting. I love Jen, and I think she's just one of the best interviewers around.
Well, you and she remind me of each other, because she never stops working either. So she's
well, when you love what you do,
yeah,
it sounds like you're the same way.
Yeah, well, it is a pleasure to meet you. I wish you nothing but success, and I hope we can do this again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan or reverse mortgage, well, do what we do. Call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. My kids, my family, my friends, my listeners, my coworkers through the years. I mean, everybody I know, they come to me, they go, Team Hochberg, real deal? Yep. And they always come back and go, thanks for the setup, including some very skeptical people. It just gets it done, and so does Team Hochberg. Denise, age 70, lived in a $400,000 home with her husband until he suddenly passed away. Denise planned on selling the home and moving into an apartment before contacting Team Hochberg for a free reverse mortgage consultation. Team Hochberg's reverse mortgage expert explained Denise didn't have to sell the house that she and her late husband lived in for 40 years and could refinance it into a reverse mortgage loan. Look, reverse mortgages have all these myths that exist out there about them. And it may not be right for you, but you know how you find out? You contact Team Hochberg, because they will take care of you and give you the straight deal. And they'll tell you if it's right for you or not. So before calling, Denise was selling her home, moving into an apartment. After calling, she got a reverse mortgage, allowed her to afford and to stay in the home that she shared with her husband and family for 40 years. Team Hochberg has helped me and thousands of podcast listeners to this show refinance after the death of a loved one, for instance, just like they helped Denise. But they can't help if you don't call 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. And don't forget to tune in to Home Sweet Home Chicago, hosted by David, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on AM 720 WGN. Homeside Financial is an equal housing lender, NMLS number 1124061. All right, before we go, remembering Marcia Kimpton's brother, we ask you to check out onemind.org. Onemind.org. That's ONEMIND.org. And also Rebecca'sDream.org for my friend Rebecca Cutler. Both are great organizations, both worthy of your support. And you'll talk to and deal with folks who have walked the same walk if you're struggling with depression or bipolar disorder. And it's really important work. So again, onemind.org, Rebecca'sDream.org. Check out either or both and contribute where you can. Don't forget, again, Marcia Kimpton, Jen Weigel, tomorrow night, assuming you're listening to this on Monday. This is what gets weird about the whole podcast thing, right? This is one thing that was easier when I was doing the radio show. Well, most days I knew what day it was. But it's March 1st, 6 o'clock, Madame Zuzu's in Highland Park. Again, in the show notes, we have the information. Go to marciakimpton.com or jenweigel.com for links on everything they're up to and social links as well. I appreciate you being here, and I mostly appreciate Ross Cochran for putting this show together. We'll see you next time in an announcement on where we're going next when we do the next episode of Live from My Office.
30 years plus on the airwaves, you have turned your dial to me. Now you're tuned into my podcast. It's Live from My Office, Steve. From Ithaca, New York to Carolina South, W. Cochran, Steve. From Minneapolis and then Chicago twice, top rated shows achieved. Sit back, relax, and now listen to my show. When or wherever you are, 'cause you're on the go. A-list celebs with some laughs and great info. Live from my office, the Steve Cochran Podcast Show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No better place to be. Yeah, 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 yeah. Subscribe and like for free. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Live from my office, Steve. So glad you're with me. It's Live from my office, Steve.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.